Hi, this is Josh Van Vliet from NWA3D, and I'm just doing a little video about the electric Freaks 3D printer. They were part of an Indiegogo out of China, and they've just recently started shipping, and people are starting to receive these printers and they don't know what the heck to do with them because the instructions aren't that great. So I'm just putting together a little video here to just kind of help everybody along, get started with these printers. They're actually really awesome. You know, there's a few little hang-ups here and there, but once you get over the hump, you will definitely not regret your purchase. So let's talk about these real quick. All the kits come with these. I believe even the built kits come with these. These are actually a spool holder. Here's what it looks like fully assembled. This is actually really handy that they include this. You should have the crossbar. You should have little M3 bolts and nuts, and then you just put the nuts through the little notches there and make sure everything lines up in the slots, and then you're ready to go. And then you just take any old spool of filament. These take 1.75 diameter PLA. They say they can also use TPU. I've actually run carbon fiber PLA through mine and it did just fine. Pretty much anything that's 1.75, they can go through a 0.4 nozzle and can be melted somewhere around 230 degrees. You'll be just fine. So, one little tip and trick from those of you who don't know for those of you that don't know very much about 3D printing, you need to have something like this. Okay, this is a homemade oiler. This actually cleans your filament as it goes into the printer, and it keeps all the dirt and debris out of the nozzle and prevents things from getting plugged up long term. I definitely suggest making one of these. This is a shop towel I cut up, wrapped around a little bit of filament, tightened it snugly with a zip tie, and then saturated it with oil, and then just every time I put a roll of filament on, I push it through this little oiler here. And get it on there real quick. So it just goes on there like that, and that way you can keep it lubricated and everything stays clean, and you don't have to worry about your nozzle plugging up as much. And also the oil goes through this plastic tube here which is referred to as a Bowden Tube, and the oil reduces friction in the tube, which also releases pressure on your extruder gear here, which helps your plastic continue to flow freely, which is the whole point. So you just plug this in here, push down the, I'm doing this one hand. Alright. So you just release the tension on the extruder gear by doing that, and then you can force the plastic in. Once it's in there, you can kind of push it, and then it feeds through the Bowden tube. You can see the color right there into the nozzle. So I'm just going to push it through manually here until it goes all the way into the nozzle. Almost there. Alright. And you'll just push it in until it stops. So there you go. So now we have our oiler installed. Alright, so one thing I really appreciate about these printers is the oiler can make contact with this thread. Now this thread is the Z-axis thread, and it is probably the only thread in this whole apparatus that needs to be oiled regularly. So by saturating this, you're not only cleaning your filament, you're also oiling your Z thread, which is awesome. So I'm going to grab some oil. I don't know if that was a purposeful design or what, but it definitely is handy. So I just put a couple drops of oil on my oiler, my cleaner. Also, these kits come with a rubber tube that attaches these. I've added an aluminum Z-axis coupler. It's a 5x5 Z-axis coupler. You can get them on eBay. They're really cheap, like $5, $4. And I highly recommend it. It makes this a lot more sturdy long term. So let's plug this thing in, Your power outlet is right here. We'll just plug it in there. Hear the fans fire up. The printer will start. And we'll talk about bed leveling in just a second here. Alright, so first thing you want to do is level your bed. So in order to level your bed, you need to do auto home. And that way all three axes, the y-axis, the x-axis, and the z-axis, will home. And they will go to what they call the zero position. And you want to make sure you don't have any plastic on there. I don't have the nozzle heating right now, so I can touch it. But when you're adjusting your bed height, you want to make sure you don't have any plastic in here throwing off your bed leveling procedure. And maybe some of you noticed there's another printer back here. It's a little different than what you guys have seen before, maybe. This is called an Affinibot Creality, and it looks a little familiar, doesn't it? Just Google it. Affinibot Creality. Interesting. Anyway, so what you're looking for when you're bed leveling is you're looking for no daylight. That's what I do anyway. No daylight between the nozzle and the print bed at any point in the whole thing. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting. We got to disable stickers. That way everything will move around freely. Alright. So if you look there, oh, the camera's not zooming in, or not focusing. You can actually see quite a bit of daylight through there. So this bed is too high. So what I need to do is I need to loosen this screw. So I'm going to loosen this screw so that there's no daylight on all of the corners. You can kind of see there. Kind of push it down to be sure. Go. And then you just want to check all parts of the print bed, particularly directly above and below the set screws. Alright, so that's probably close enough, I'd say. Not perfect, but I think that's close enough. We'll loosen it just a little bit more. Bed leveling is probably one of your most important tasks. And sorry for all the camera action here, but I just wanted to do a quick little video, get it posted tonight. Alright, so once you get your bed level, you can pick one of these files here to print. You guys all have demo G-code preloaded on your thing. I also have a little rocket on mine that I added. And so once you hit print, it will start to raise temperature. So while it's doing that, I'll talk about some other stuff. Okay, so there are two problems that you want to look out for. First one is this part and this part. That's your y-axis. You want to make sure that your Y belt, which is right here, is not too loose. So you can see here it'll move, but when I touch it, it's not real loose. And if I move the printer, it doesn't really flex a lot. It stays pretty accurate. So that's about right. And then this one is the same. This one's a little bit tighter, but if I move the printer around, you don't see the belt moving up and down. You just see it moving side to side. Also, this little bit here is asymmetrical. So this hole is not perfectly centered. If this hole is up high, then the belt will come up out of this groove and will rub on this little corner. So what I do is I make sure the hole is as low as possible. Then I set these two T-nuts, and then once these two T-nuts are set, I push it down as far as it'll go, and then I tighten them. And it kind of puts a little weird angle on here, but it keeps the belt traveling properly inside of this groove without rubbing on anything and wearing out. Similar thing here, you just want to make sure that you're lined up with that groove with the y-axis, and that maybe in shipping or just general use, you haven't bumped this part or this part and caused this belt to become slack. Because if this belt's slack or this belt's slack, your round objects will have flat edges and it will look weird. And if they have a flat side this way, then that means your x-axis is lagging, which means your belt is probably loose or your pulley is loose. And if you have flat spots this way, then that means, again, this is loose, your belt is loose, or the pulley is loose. So you have to address those. Okay, so here we are, we're up to heat. It will automatically home when it reaches the proper temperature. I think I printed with yellow before, so it's just kind of drooling a little bit, headed towards its printing location. Alright, so now it's started. Now, it may take a minute for it to start laying down plastic because it may have drooled out all the plastic. And actually it looks like it's balling up on the tip. So what that means is I don't have the bed calibrated. So what I can do is I can, while it's printing, loosen up these bolts a bit and see if I can get the plastic to start sticking. It may be a lost cause because enough of it's built up, but we can try. So let's see if we can get it to stick. There we go. So I raised the bed just enough that it started to stick a little bit. So I need to do this side. This side's a lot harder while it's working. I got big old hands. Let's raise that up there. Alright. Let's come on to the other side so you can see a little better. So you can see I have this terrible paint glob in here. This print's failed. Obviously so. But we have the bed height adjusted, so we got something out of it. So all we have to do is kind of confirm that we like that bed height. And come over here and cancel the print. And we'll just tell it to auto home so we can clean up this mess. Okay. Mess is cleaned up. Nozzle's a little goopy. Alright. So let's go prepare, move axis, 1mm, Z. And then just turn it however far I want it to go. 65 is probably good. That's about halfway up. It'll make it a lot easier to get up in there and get at this goop. A lot of goop. Rainbow colored goop. Alright, so that's probably good enough. So we can go ahead and tell it to print again. once it gets back up to temp, which is already at temp, we'll start printing again. Alright. And as you notice, it's still kind of leaking, dripping. PLA. It's fine. I like to pull a strand and just kind of keep it so that it doesn't curl up on the nozzle like this. So as you can see, it is printing just fine. The circle is nice and round, no flat spots. We got the first layer to stick, and all I did was just raise the bed while it was printing the first attempt until the plastic started sticking. That's all I did. It's not that hard. And if you still have problems beyond that, you can use some Elmer's glue stick or something like that, and it will help the plastic adhere. I usually have just plenty of luck with painter's tape or regular masking tape like what comes with the kits. It works just fine for PLA, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. And I just saw, it's worth mentioning, look at that! There's a piece of crap on my filament. That would have gone straight into my nozzle. But luckily I have an oiler, so I don't have to worry about it. So here's the finished project. This is what the demo G-code prints out. It's a little dragon, and he is wrapped around a heart. It's actually really neat looking. I printed this out on a translucent green once, and it turned out super awesome. But yeah, lots of details. This was just the normal standard settings. Nothing changed. And then this guy was printed, and I turned up the feed rate as it was printing, and so the faster speed made the quality a lot less, and you can see like it skipped over there on the heart and on a little below his ears. The filament couldn't keep up with the feed rate setting. So these things can go pretty fast, but you still want to watch out for those things, and you'll see the sort of layer misalignment issues. But as long as you keep it within the range, it makes really, really nice, smooth, beautiful prints. I'm very impressed with the quality of this printer.